Good morning, everyone. To all my friends and listeners, and just we like to reach out and start the day, knowing that I can say hi. I got to thinking about one of the things I do a lot of thinking. I don't think there's a child who hasn't been asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And if you remember what that was, we all had some particular profession or direction that we thought we were going to go when we got older. And I wanted to be a fireman. I wanted to be a doctor. And everybody had these different little things and dreams. And as we got older, and when you get to be my age, it's incredible to look back and see how many different jobs we end up having. It used to be people took a job, especially in small towns. You took a job and it was your job until you retired. And that changed very, very much over the years. And now young people start out, they go to college and get an education and start off in one direction and have no idea where that direction is leading. So going along and accepting the fact that life has these major changes that are going to happen and learning to adapt to them and say my favorite, isn't that interesting? Quote. I got to thinking about all of my different positions in life, and they were varied incredibly. My very first job at 16 was a telephone operator. I was a long distance telephone operator, and then I was an overseas operator, and I loved that job. I loved the communicating with people. I loved coin phones when people would call and have to put the money in, and I'd have to hear the sound of the coins and know write down how much they were paying. It's just or people who were looking for someone and they needed help and guidance in finding a phone number. So I liked that job a lot, and that was my first. My second job was a wife and mother at a very young age. And that was a really important job to me, and probably the most important job. And then I was a single mother with a child to raise, and had gone through some struggles, which happened. Got my first job after that as a dispatcher for a tree service. I didn't stay there very long. And from there, I got a job working for an automobile dealership. And I did bookkeeping for the first time. You remember, I left school at a very young age. So every job I had required learning new skills, and I loved that. That was the best part of taking one day at a time and watching my life change. And there, I made good friends and was directed to a position that required me to take the train to New York City every day. So this was really different for me, and the first time that I'd ever approached entering into the Big Apple on my own. So I was about 21 at the time, and I got a job working as a statistical research analyst for television advertising. Quite a big step up, and I was there maybe 2 years. And then I met my husband, and we were married 3 weeks later. And then my next job was staying at home when we finally had a child together. We had a 9-year-old at that time as well. So I was very busy and being a mother and ironing and helping my husband with his schoolwork because he was a teacher. He is still a teacher. And I left that job, and I think back, which is what we do. We look back and say, I wish I had done that differently. I should have stayed at that job because we could have used the income. I put all the burden on my sweet husband and stayed home. I thought that was what I should do. Then we had an opportunity to move from our little Bronx apartment to Manhattan, where my husband was teaching. And then I ended up as a building superintendent. Let me tell you, I don't even know if I personally ever met a building superintendent. So it was really an eye opener. But I love people very much. And I thought, this is wonderful. I'm going to be able to have 32 families to take care of. And I can get to know their kids and I can decorate holidays. So I looked, this was going to be interesting. Well, basically, I was supposed to just be clean and take um, complaints from people and maybe order them repair people. But it turned out much, much more. I was on call 24 hours a day. My son at that time was 9 months, my youngest son, and my husband was teaching down the street, so he wasn't there all day. And I discovered that many of the tasks that I called repair people for weren't that difficult, and I wanted to know how to do it. So I watched them. And little by little, I found that I could change a washer, that I could unplug a toilet, that I could work the elevator and that from its inner parts and get people out if they were stuck. I found ways to learn how to do all those things simply by watching. Then I came to find out I needed to be licensed by the fire department to run the standpipes in the building. Now there's 8 floors in that building, and it was a big building. And I did that. So the inspector said, well, you have to keep track of these things. You have to keep a log and check them. I said, okay, I can do that, right? Joined the union, went and took a handyman's course with the 240 men. And I learned a little bit more. I got to do more electrical work and some carpentry work and did that. Well, I did all of that for 12 years. And as a part-time worker working 24 hours on call. Then my husband and I decided he was going to stop teaching and we started watching children. And we were very good at it. He got his degree in early childhood, so now he could teach everything from nursery school through college. I, on the other hand, got to be mom to everybody, and I loved that. We decided we'd open up a daycare center upstate. We made a major move in our lives and did open up the first licensed infant program in Delaware County. Well, my husband and I cared for children for over 40 years. We did it in a large center, and we did it in our home. And we still are in touch with a lot of the children that we cared for. But where in the world did that come from? All of these changes, all of these being able to grow and adjust to the differences was really, really something to look back on. And with each of them, there was more to learn. There was more learning about the differences in people and the differences in they raised their children, values that were different. And through all of it, I got to share that with my wonderful husband. So that's incredible when you think about it, because we were together 24 hours a day. Now, I wouldn't recommend that for every couple that is partnering with someone, because that can be kind of difficult, except I happened to marry someone who understood me and loved me the way I was, and I could be, we're silly together, we laugh, we share our faith and our spirituality on a daily basis, and try to be as kind as we can be. And so it's been a good journey through employment, but to be able to let our kids know that the job you have today, that you may love very, very much, may not be there tomorrow. And it may be something totally new that's going to be, you're going to be exposed to. And you're going to have to decide, how you can be comfortable in that. And the best way is simply accepting that life changes and growing along with it. Because you never know what's happening at the end of that day. And it's rewarding when you get to be my age and can be grateful that I've had that opportunity to do and learn one day at a time as I grow. So I hope that's been a little bit interesting. It certainly is fun for me to share that with you. Okay. See you again next week.